order to build a championship roster in Dynasty, you need to know these things. Let's go. So first, one of the things you need to understand in Dynasty is that if you don't draft a quarterback within the first few picks of your first round, if you're not, if you don't have a top 5 pick and you're not getting one of those studs that can anchor your team for years to come, you need to go for the wide receiver over the running back. In redraft, a running back is a lot more valuable than a wide receiver, but in Dynasty, it's the reverse because the wide receiver's time span at the top, the longevity, wide receivers have longer time on the shelf than the running backs do. Running backs peak might be higher, but if you hit on a wide receiver, you have a stud for the next 7 to 8 years. You also need to plan ahead. Now, when I say plan ahead, think of it like this. Use your future draft picks to move up in the draft. In other words, use your second and third round picks to get either another first round pick or a higher up draft pick in the first round. And then use your expiring contract players to re-up in your draft. So for instance, let's say we're going to trade, maybe your second and third rounder for a late first. Or again, if you already have a late first, maybe use your second and third rounder and your late first to trade up in the first round and get a top 2 or 3 pick and secure, a top stud wide receiver or a top stud quarterback. And then use your aging contract players in a trade to acquire more draft picks. So for instance, let's use Stephon Diggs as an example. So let's say you want to trade Stephon Diggs. Let's say you're, maybe right on the cusp, you're contending, but at the same time you're trying to rebuild. Let's say you trade a Stephon Diggs for a Tank Dell and, maybe like a second tier or third tier running back. So let's say like a Tank Dell and a Zach Moss type and an extra second or late round first pick in the next year's draft. Securing another wide receiver, you're getting a little help at the running back position who can help you right then and there, and you're adding a draft pick at the end. So you're getting contention and you're getting something that can help you rebuild. So when I say trade your expiring contracts for draft picks, that's what I mean. You also have to pay attention to the landing spot of these players. I don't care what college they went to, and I don't care if you like them coming out of college. Landing spot is everything. The opportunity to play, the opportunity to get higher on the depth chart matters a whole lot more than people want to give credit to. Let's take a guy like, Thaddeus Moss a while back, tight end for the LSU Tigers. He was on that explosive roster with Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and he, in a lot of games outplayed those guys. So you were saying, as soon as he got to the league, he was going to be a top tight end, and you might have drafted him early in your dynasty startups, and he busted because, it was all because of the landing spot. It was all because of the opportunity to play and what he didn't get. So pay attention to where your players land at and pay attention to the opportunity that they have to get value on their own team, because that's going to help the value on your team. And then one of the last tips I would say is, day 1 players, round 1 players, they're going to sell tickets. Round 2 players are the players that are going to help you win a championship. Now, what I mean by that is the players that are going on day 2, anywhere between second and fourth round players, those are the guys that after the first round, the GMs are going to possibly reach on, or they're going to make sure they get their guy. Those are the guys that they're going to use to round out the roster. Or they also just might take best player available. It definitely helps where they go. But if they have the talent, if they have the opportunity to play, and if they have one of the best landing spots for them, that's a winning combination. I think if you master those 4 things, you will be in contention for your championship every year in Dynasty. Once again, you don't always have to be in contention. You don't always have to rebuild. You need to have a combination of the two. You need to constantly be rebuilding and constantly be ready to perform and constantly be ready to play for the championship and constantly ready to compete at all times. Thanks for tuning in to today's video. Remember, subscribe to see more content from me and everyone here at Just in Time Media.